So in this video, let's take a look at the question screen. So here's a question screen for a brand new quiz. I just generated the first question. And on the onVisible then, I'm doing a couple of things. First of all, I'm setting a context variable called question answered equal to false. And I'm then setting the correct answer for the button-based quizzes. So for a capital, population, and area, I'm getting the last ID in used questions. The last ID and the last value of used questions will effectively be the question that we're asking at the minute on the screen. And then I'm looking at my call quiz data, which is my master collection of data. And based on the quiz type, from that master collection, I'm pulling back the capital, the population or area that matches with my last used questions ID. And therefore, I'm able to populate this context variable with the correct answer. Image-based quizzes work slightly differently. So that is the onVisible. The question number then is quite simple. It is question with the question number appended to it, and the question number is getting set up. For the first question anyway, it's getting set up on the onSelect of the Start Quiz button on the home screen. Then we do the question itself, and for most quiz types, the format is what is the quiz type of country name. But for atlas-based quizzes, I need to rephrase the question slightly. So for an atlas-based quiz, I'm asking where in Africa is country name. And then I'm pulling back the country name, very similar to what we saw on the onVisible there. I'm comparing the call quiz data ID with my last used questions ID. And this time I'm bringing back the country name. Okay, and very quickly, to show you what an atlas-based quiz would look like with that question. So there you go, where in Africa is Cameroon? Okay, so that's how they work. Let's go back though to our buttons. Okay, the restart button then is very simple. I set question answer to false, and I set navigate back to home, and that's it. You navigate back to the home screen and you start again. Now the buttons themselves then, let's start by looking at the onSelect. So let's select the first one, and we'll go to the onSelect then, and you can see then as soon as you select, you set question answered to true, and then if the correct answer, which we set up on the onVisible, is equal to the text of this button, then increment correct answer count by 1. And at this stage, correct answer count will be set at 0, and that was set up again on the onSelect, at the end of the onSelect of the Start Quiz button on the home screen. Okay. And then obviously if we selected it, this button, or this button, then this would be answer 2, answer 3, answer 4.text. So if you pick the right answer, increment correct answer count. After onSelect then, let's take a look at the display mode. So as soon as you answer the question, then the buttons get changed to view rather than edit. So at the minute they're sitting in edit, in other words, they can be clicked, they can be selected. As soon as you answer, then they get set to view and you can't click them, which makes sense. But I also need to do it this way because I am, if you remember on the onSelect, I am incrementing the correct answer count if you get the right answer. So obviously if people just spam the button, the correct answer count would tick up and up and up and up. And I don't want that to happen. So as soon as you answer, all the buttons get set to view and you can't select them. After display mode then, we'll take a look at the fill. So the fill is if question answered is not equal to true. In other words, if it's false, then we set it to colorLabel.color. And I will show you where colorLabel.color is coming from in a second. Else, if the answer 1.text is equal to the correct answer, then set it to green, else set it to red. And then for this button, then that would be obviously be if answer2.text is equal to correct answer, answer3.text, and then answer4.text. What this means then, as soon as you answer a question, the correct one is going to go have a green fill, and the other 3 incorrect answers will get a red fill. Now, this color label dot color, let's go back to the home screen shortly and show you where that's coming from, because I forgot to look at that in the home screen video. So here is a color label, and we can see here, and it's invisible. The visible is set to false. Okay, and really this should be in its own settings screen, but because there's only the one option, I've just left it on the home screen. So that's the visible is set to false. And if I go to color, the color property is steel blue. So let's change that to light steel blue. Lots of things change, but also what should change then should be the fill. And there you go. So that's why the fill is changing. So that's where that color label dot color is coming from. If I restart that, and if I change that to dark golden rod, for example, and then the fill changes to the color label. And you can see that I'm using this color label dot color for various other things as well on the home screen and also on the results screen. So that's all color label is. Just a little setting to allow me to change, make one change and update the color on lots of different parts of the app. Okay, so that's fill. So let's take a look at text then, the text property. And then the text property, again, based on the quiz type, I will use the ID, this time coming from possible answers, not coming from used questions, which we've seen previously on this screen, but from possible answers. So again, matching up the ID, this time of the first possible answer, and bringing back the capital for a capital quiz, population for a population quiz, area for an area quiz. And again, appending space kilometre squared onto the end of it for an area. And then, as you can probably guess then, for this option, the text property, instead of looking at the first, I'm looking at the last. Okay, so first for the first button, last for the last button, and then for the second and third buttons, I'm using that combo of first n and last again that we saw in the little random routine. So for the second button then, I'm pulling back the first 2 possible answers, and then I'm taking the last one. And then for the third button, as I'm sure you can guess, I'm bringing back the first 3 possible answers and I'm taking the last one. So that's how I'm getting the text onto the buttons. And then we need to look at the visible, because this one question screen is used for button-based quizzes and image-based quizzes. So if you set an image-based quiz, I want these buttons to be invisible. You can't see them. But if it's anything, if it's a button-based quiz, I obviously want them to be visible. Okay, so that is the buttons. So let's take a look at the images now. So let's generate an image-based quiz. Do flag, and here we go. Here's the images. So the first thing we need to look at is the on select. And here we go. So this is slightly different then from, this is the difference between the button and the images. For the buttons, for the correct answers, I'm doing this slightly differently. But for the images, I'm basically comparing IDs in the last used questions and the first possible answer. So this is the first image. So I'm checking that's ID, and I'm comparing it with the last used questions ID, which I know would be the correct answer. If they're the same, then this one is the correct answer, in which case, if it's selected, you up the answer count, correct answer count by 1. These other images would work in the same manner, but again, we would be using the first and 2 and last, first and 3 and last, and then just last on its own to compare against the correct possible answers value. So we ensure that we're, depending on which one I answer, we know whether to up the correct answer count or not. Okay, and really I should go back and change the button-based quizzes to work in a consistent manner, so the same way as the images are working. And if I was doing another pass at this quiz app, that's one of the things that I would change. But okay, so that works for images. Let's look at the display mode as well. Display mode, then, if the question answered is true, then I set them to disabled. If it hasn't been answered yet, then they're edited. So in other words, they can be selected. For images, then I set them to disabled. That works better than setting the view, and it means then I can use the disabled border color property as well, which I'll make use of later on. So that's display mode. And then the image itself, the image property. So depending on whether it's a flag or an atlas, I need to obviously pull back the flag or atlas image from my master data collection. And I'm doing that again and again. I'm comparing IDs, and again using the possible answers collection here. So the first one, and then as you know by now, this would be first and 2 and last, first and 3 and last, and then just last on its own to build back the right ID to compare against the master data collection, and then pull back the flag image for a flag quiz and the atlas image for an atlas quiz. Okay, then the visible. And the visible, very similar to the buttons, but just obviously the other way around. So if it's a image-based quiz, we show these images. If it's a button-based quiz, we make them invisible. And then the final property to show is the disabled border color property. And here then, if the question hasn't been answered, I display that color of blue. So that really should be color label.label. That's an opportunity for improvement right there. And then, but if it has been answered, then I go again, I do my matching, and if it's the correct answer, then it goes green. If it's the incorrect answer, it goes red. And those are the images. Now, in association with the images, then I also have the X and tick icons. So if I answer this question, for example, we get these little tick and X icons. And they work down here. So in each area of the screen, there is a red X and a green tick. And I manage the visibility of those, again, depending on whether the question is an incorrect answer or a correct answer. So given that incorrect question 4, that should be invisible. So if I look at the visible property of that, then what I'm basically doing is I'm setting the visibility to true or false. So in this case, this is a flag quiz. The question has been answered. And then when it is answered, then if I match my IDs again, and then I can set that to false or true based on whether I need it to display or not. In this case, I don't want it to display. In that case, I want the correct question 4 to display. So in this case, that would be equating as true and would be visible, and the red X for question 4 would be being set to visible false. And the same then would apply for the other 3 questions, but obviously in reverse. For those ones, I'm showing the red X and I'm making the green tick invisible. Okay, and then the final thing to say on the question screen then is the next button. And the next button then, quite a bit going on it, but a lot of it is very, very similar to what's happening under the Start Quiz button, which I've already covered in a previous video. But something that we are doing under this button is that we're upping the question number by 1. So we're setting the question number variable. In this case, we would set it to 2. And then if we have hit the correct number of questions based on the quiz size, then we navigate to the results screen. Else, we set up the next question. And we set up the next question in a we're doing very similar stuff to what's under the Start Quiz button. So I'm not going to go through all this in detail. But we add a new value to our used questions. So we do a collect, not a clear collect. And we add a new value to used questions from our available questions. And then we run through the same routine. Setting up our available answers. So that's refresh back to 54. And start the routine of adding in our possible answers, getting our 1 correct answer, getting our 3 incorrect answers. And we go through that routine again. Until finally we shuffle our possible answers. And then because I'm going to call this screen again, I'm going to navigate to it again very shortly. The onVisible won't get called, so I need to replicate my onVisible code, which I do here. And then, as I said, navigate back to the question screen, back to itself. And in this case, I would display question 2. Like so. And that's the question screen. So in the next video, we're going to break out away from the app again, and we're going to take a look at the second test screen that I have, and that's the debug screen. And that's where we'll take a look at these collections in a bit more detail, and we'll see what I've been describing and how they work and how that available questions, available answers, possible questions and used questions, how that all works.